So again, my name is Kabiru Mohammed Aliu. I'm the founder for Transform Africa and the learning space. So I'll be talking through a few talking points, and I'll talk about the challenges, some of the challenges that we have as at the current moment. I would also be talking about solutions, right, that virtualization brings to us. All my previous speakers have talked about artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all these concepts need a platform to be able to scale, which is virtualization. So I'll take some time to talk about the software that manages virtualization. I'll talk about core virtualization technologies. I'll talk about advanced virtualization technologies, and I'll talk about failover technologies because we need to ensure business continuity. Then I'll end up with disaster recovery and business continuity. So on the challenges, we are, from a global perspective, we are all dealing with a pandemic. And I believe that everyone is so used to this topic and somewhat an expert in their own right of their views and opinions of what is happening with the COVID-19. But going into ICT and the relationship with engineering, I would want to talk about a few challenges. One of those is on-premises infrastructure versus having your infrastructure on the cloud. Now, with the COVID-19, you would all recall that if you have infrastructure on premises, you would struggle to be able to power them up, to be able to get engineers to go to site and keep your lights on or your business moving. Also, we are also faced with restriction of movement, which is built to try and minimize the infection. All these are real challenges to business because the businesses have been built on, most businesses have been built on physical services. And also this way they sell those services is purely through contact with clients and companies. So furthermore, moving on, a lot of companies as well did not digitize, right? So they are only trying to get on board in terms of automating some of their processes. Furthermore, the concept of online marketing, versus word of mouth or versus, knowing the brand also is also a challenge for some businesses that have not really fully adopted the capacity of online marketing. Furthermore, underutilization of e-learning platforms. So many schools now are trying now to jump onto this e-learning bandwagon. Also, from a hospital perspective, the issue of how do I do telemedicine? How do I talk to my clients or help my patients virtually? The remote working readiness as well is also an issue because most organizations were not prepared for their employees working remotely. And also some of the challenges that we have when it comes to infrastructure, meaning that even if you are working remotely, you still have to deal with a whole lot of things, internet connectivity issues, power issues, and all that kind of stuff. Furthermore, why we are here is how do we continue to build ICT capacity. So I would move on to continue to talk about some of the solutions. But my previous speakers have actually covered some of these points, but I will just elaborate quite quickly. Migration to the cloud is one of the benefits of virtualization, right? Because you are able to easily and seamlessly migrate your workload to the cloud. Be it if you have manufacturing as a service, be it if you have industry, as a service that you are running, be it whatever production that you are doing that is powered by ICT. Once you virtualize, you are able to port them to the cloud. Disaster recovery, business continuity, it's also a solution that virtualization brings because it allows you to recover very quickly when you have downtime. And some of you would agree with me that engineering and manufacturing, might not be able to tolerate downtime, because before the machines are booted up again, the various machines, it might take time if you don't properly plan for business continuity and disaster recovery. Also, SaaS, one of my previous colleagues also talked about software as a service, right? Then that means you are able to deploy services as a service very, very quickly if you have virtualized. You could use the futuristic engineering as a service, manufacturing as a service quite seamlessly once you have virtualized. Furthermore, as well, you are able to transform your business operations. You are able to transform your business operations, thereby giving you much, much revenue to work with and margins to work with. Then furthermore, you still need to make sure that you are able to train your people, make sure that your people understand some of these concepts that have been mentioned by previous speakers, so that you are able to function properly. So I will go a little bit now to just introduce a bit to virtualization. We have the concept called hypervisor. Hypervisor typically is a software that manages virtualization. And what is the hypervisor trying to achieve, right? Or virtualization in a sense. In a very simple term, virtualization allows you, right, to consolidate all your assets or your hardware, compute, storage, network equipment into a more productive and consolidated view. That way, you can fully utilize the functionality of your investment, right? Imagine a company that has 20 branches, and each of those 20 branches have their own infrastructure, server, storage, compute, and all that. You would notice that some of those branches might not be fully utilizing the resources that they have all invested in. But with virtualization, you will be able to maximize on your investment. We have the type 2. I'll start with the type 2 hypervisor because it's very practical. We can do it even now after this call, meaning that you can take your desktop or your laptop. Your laptop already has an operating system, right? And then you then install the hypervisor on it, and you are able to start running your virtual machines and putting all your software as a service or all your workload onto it. Then the type 1 hypervisor, this is the best way to hypervise, because when you buy a hardware or you buy resources, right, you are able to then decouple the operating system, or you buy the hardware without an operating system. Thereby, you are able to install your hypervisor on a bare metal, meaning that the hypervisor now takes over the role of the operating system. Then you can then begin to have your virtual machines. So in simple terms, you are more efficient, you have consolidated all your resources, and then as a business person, you are able to properly utilize your investment. You don't necessarily need to buy what you don't require. You can scale up and you can increase your computing. And all the previous speakers spoke about artificial intelligence, spoke about machine learning. And this is really the platform that drives those conversations, that drives those automations that they have all referred to. Another concept is the core virtualization technologies, right? You have a number of things to look at: server virtualization, network virtualization, storage, and desktop. So from an engineering perspective, right, this just simply means that the ability to effectively manage your compute, your storage, and your network resources very, very efficiently. Now, as an engineer, there's a role for as a server engineer, because within the virtualized environment, you still need the ability to understand the processing requirement. You also need network engineers as well. They are able to understand cloud and virtualization to be able to administer this platform. Also storage engineers, and of course, desktop engineers as well. Then I want to talk about some concepts very quickly, right? The first one is live migration infrastructure. Now, what live migration allows you to do is to seamlessly migrate your currently running virtual machine to either a public cloud or another private cloud. Now, all of you would be able to relate to NCDC, right? They had some challenges initially when they were hitting lots of demand on their website or on their applications or on their resources, right? If they are virtualized, or let's assume they have not virtualized, right? It simply means that they would be unable to migrate to a private cloud platform or a public cloud platform. So, and what the live migration does is that you are able to migrate your business, right, in zero downtime. So imagine critical services like manufacturing, industry 4.0 that was spoken about. All this thing needs continuity in terms of how these operations are running. And they don't really tolerate downtime, right? Because imagine if you are operating on a human and you are doing it using technology, and you are having issues and you have to make a decision to do a live migration. So this is the kind of platform to consider. But however, you still need to make sure that your engineers are very, very skilled to be able to do that amount of work. Also, if you look at Cloudflex, one of our indigenous cloud company here in Nigeria, right? They have a VM platform, meaning that as of today, you can migrate your workload if it is virtualized to their platform. Secondly, as well, Google has announced as at yesterday that they are investing, or they are partnering with VMware to come up with a VMware engine. Similarly, AWS also have VMware engine, and Azure also has VMware engine. So these public cloud providers also are realizing that live migration is very, very important for business. Then also, I'm going to talk about some failover technologies very quickly. The first one is high availability. Now, as a business, you got to determine what you require, right? From a production perspective. Can you tolerate downtime? Yes or no? Or can you tolerate some level of downtime? So if the answer is yes, then high availability is you. That means you can tolerate a few minutes of downtime. So what high availability does is that the machine that has failed, right, among those clusters, right, the VM moves to an operating server and reboot itself and restore all your services back online in just few minutes, right? Depending on the configuration that you have done. And that is where skills are also important, engineering skills. Also, the second failover technology is fault tolerance. If your business cannot tolerate any downtime, then this fault tolerance is for you. And as engineers, we need to understand this concept. So the fault tolerance allows you, right, once a server fails or a machine fails that is in the cluster, because each of the other operating servers have a copy of the virtual machine in the fail server, they just seamlessly cut over without any reboot required. So this is very powerful, meaning that you can work with zero downtime. And to run all this artificial intelligence and machine learning and all these beautiful things that transform the human lives or that transform the society, right? We need to make a decision, what failover technologies do we adopt? Finally, I want to just address disaster recovery and business continuity. So most organizations, right, have what we refer to as a business continuity plan, right, which is usually informed by either your ISO 27001, which is information security, or your ISO 22301, right, which talks about the business continuity management system. So based on your business continuity plan, which is what level of downtime can I tolerate? How quickly can I secure my clients' information? How quickly can I restore business back to operations? Based on your plan, you will then come up with your recovery site or your disaster recovery site. As you can see from this diagram, we have site A to be the primary and site B to be the recovery. In an instance of an outage in site A due to maybe due to disaster that it is beyond our control, right? Then the migration seamlessly happens at site B. But all this needs experience. All this needs people that can manage this technology, right? So I'm encouraging and I'm very, very impressed by this organization, by NIEEE, to bring capacity to people, right, and to engineers just to further empower them. I will leave you with the philosophy that in learning, you would teach, and in teaching, you would learn. Thank you very much for your time, and we would continue to engage from a panelist discussion perspective. Thank you very much.